If you aren't here for high support needs autistics having a voice in the community, you are a very large part of the problem.
Did you know it's actually very difficult to get a doctor to assess you for autism if you're an adult?
My 25-year-old late diagnosed self who fought for a diagnosis because if doctors can't see it, must not be real even if others can prove it.
Everything's perfect here, there's nobody crying. Nobody do. I got a bad feeling about you.
So I'm a little bit sick, so I'm going to try my best to kind of keep this short, but we'll kind of see how well that goes. So it super depends on whether you were told that you're like a level 1, level 2, or level 3, or it varies because a lot of doctors still believe in a lot of the older ways. You could be considered high functioning and low functioning, even though we in the community don't really care for that term. Very much depends on what you were told. So as a partially late diagnosed ADHDer, as I prefer, here are just a couple of tips of things that can sometimes help when you're trying to figure out how to work with your own brain. So first off, don't be afraid to join peer support groups or just regular support groups online, for like those that may have a little bit more experience. I personally am in a few Facebook support groups, so to speak, myself, where I often will go asking questions about like, okay, does anybody else experience this? A lot of this is because it can be extremely difficult to find a therapist that really understands how to work with somebody who is late diagnosed. Because a lot of this is still fairly new for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people still learn a lot of the old ways. And so in their mind, it's still difficult for them to comprehend how doctors could have possibly missed a lot of our diagnoses. Okay, and then the second tip is just look around at various content creators that have lived experience, because oftentimes you have to listen to multiple different people before you really understand what's going on in your own head. I really hope this helps.
There are two parts inside of me that are absolutely conflicting at all times, and it drives me nuts to the point where I'm like,
this is actually one of the reasons why I suspected that I have both autism and ADHD, because my insides are always screaming at each other because they're always conflicting. My favorite little example of this, of my like perfectionism and stuff, is that if a cup is supposed to have a lid and a straw, I cannot use it unless the lid and straw are available. I can't just drink it like a normal cup. Genuinely just cannot.
I used to think this way too. I've struggled getting accommodations in work settings because I don't look like I'm disabled until I've hit my limit. I get blaming society, but I am still disabled by my disability. I am able to be accommodated in some situations, but that doesn't take away my disability.
Alright, I'm gonna try to do this one unscripted, so this is gonna be kind of a trial. This really is not the take that you think it is, because there are parents that, really good parents, that genuinely tried their best, and their kid still has sensory issues with eating. It's takes like this that are the reason why I say that even parents of neurodivergent kids can have ableism trauma. These kids that have ARFID, they aren't just making themselves throw up. That's a completely nonsense take. I want you to imagine for a second that you got sick on something completely random. Let's say hot dogs. And then after that, you can't eat hot dogs anymore because for some reason in your brain, it reminds you of that time that you got sick on them. What are you going to say to that? Oh, it's bad parenting why that kid doesn't want to eat hot dogs anymore. No.
So I generally try to stay away from controversy.
As someone who was an ADHD kid in normal general public education who did not qualify for an IEP or special education, this is not a good take. I'm not at all saying that teachers do not have the right to feel safe in their classrooms. That's not it at all. But I really think that you're mad at the wrong problem. You're making a pretty wide assumption that kids that aren't in special ed don't have behavioral issues. Instead of maybe dipping your toes into some illegal territory, maybe advocate for more behavioral intervention specialists to be put in schools for these kind of instances. I didn't even have violent behaviors, and I still had teachers that didn't feel it was their job to accommodate me, by the way, which is wrong, it's the law. I wanted to address this comment real quick because honestly, if you are this kind of parent that won't be involved in your child's education but also won't seek help for your child that is being destructive, unfortunately you do deserve your day to be inconvenienced by needing to come get your child. Yeah, this didn't do what you think it did. That's why there are job coaches to ensure that the person doesn't throw a chair. I love that there are like people my age that still don't want to fully identify as Gen Z. Just accept your fate. You're not a zillennial. You are Gen Z. I myself identify as a elder Gen Z.
About it. This is a typewriter. It is not autism.
This is keyboard, not autism.
Oh, yeah.
Go team! Go sports!
All right, can you just explain what's going on here?
I thank you. I have no idea.
It's not that, it's not that.
It's showtime.
Oh, so I am absolutely beyond frustrated right now. I'm supposed to be heading to my dietitian. I found out that unless I had a diagnosis prior to being 22 in this state, I can't qualify for the kind of help I need. I'm gonna post this anyway, even though I'm like crying and I'm probably gonna get really embarrassed about it. So, it just pissed me off and I don't know what to do about it.